All right, today we're here with Jonathan in Connecticut. Jonathan, I used to have my dad's sister. Her name was Ruth, Aunt Ruth we called her. Then she passed away. So now we're Ruthless.
That's right.
Like you haven't heard that one before?
Yeah, well, that's similar to a story I tell.
Where did the name Ruthless come from?
So, when I was, 23, I was engaged to a girl, and the night before the party, she decided that it wasn't going to work out, and I am thankful that she did, because I was committed, and I would not back out. I'm not I won't say I'm not a quitter, but if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yep.
So she decided that getting married to me was not the thing to do. So therefore I could say I'm ruthless, right? If her name was Ruth. So that's the story I tell to nice people.
Okay.
In professional environments. But we're going to go with ruthless because it's a cuter story.
Yeah, I like the story.
It's a good story.
How long you lived in Connecticut?
I've lived in Connecticut my entire life. It's thrilling to live here. There's a lot of pros to living in this area. You have the option of about any kind of food you want, which clearly I like to eat. So that's
Yeah, there is good food up here.
there is a lot of good food, a lot of options of about any kind of food you want, which is nice. And it's, for the most part, it's genuine and authentic, which I appreciate. You know, you have a lot of the same options, unfortunately, but that's kind of due to, you know, a larger percentage of the people having a given background.
Yep.
I'm not here to smack talk any other part of the country. I've gone other places, and it was not really the same in a lot of ways in terms of food. So yeah, there's that side. There's different cultures. There's different people from different areas and backgrounds. There are certainly some cons to that as well. You know, you might have some old lady trying to tell you to leave a parking lot.
Oh yeah.
You know,
For whatever reason.
because maybe they're going to park school buses here. You know, you might have somebody like that. That's all up in your business. On the flip side is, you know, you can learn a lot of different things about a lot of different people.
Yep.
In a lot of different areas of the world. That's certainly interesting. You know, you have a lot of opportunity. Where we're sitting is probably about 60 miles door to door to anywhere in Manhattan. And that isn't a place everyone wants to go. However, the old saying is, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
Well, I think that's because there's a lot of opportunities that are left open. You know, there's businesses that if you heard the business plan almost anywhere, you'd be like, that's stupid. No one would ever buy that. People make their whole businesses on it. I mean, it's sometimes quite outrageous. A friend of mine told me he manages a company that sells those underground wires that are for like dog fencing.
Yep.
And he did some interview with a guy that wanted to be a franchise dealer. And the guy's like, oh, I make X amount of money a year because they're looking at financials. And he has a business picking up dog poop. And he has like 5, 6 people work for him. All they do 8 hours a day is walk around neighborhoods
Picking up
with
dog
a
poop.
bag. Yeah. And like, that sounds outrageous. But when you hear the guy's financials, you're like, you're really like taking home 6 figures after paying employees and all your overhead, picking up dog shit. Like, how is that possible?
Right.
But it is, because, you know, there are aspects of convenience that people are willing to pay for, and that's a supply and demand thing. I mean, if you're the only person that has a business like that, you're the only game in town.
Yep.
You know, people make good money being dog walkers. Stuff that you're like, why would anybody pay for that?
Probably wouldn't fly where I live.
Yeah, and if you're in a more rural area, you're just like, well, the yard's fenced in. Let the dog outside.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to pay somebody to walk it, but when you're in a contained environment, there are opportunities like that, and you can make something essentially out of nothing. You know, and in a tertiary fashion, you can make something servicing those industries as well. You know, you can, whether it's with a truck or any other kind of service business, you can service businesses and provide something to them that they will see more value in than if you had been doing it yourself.
Right.
You know, and there's money to be made. There's money to be made because there's people that need things trucked, for instance, because I'm in this industry. There's people that need things trucked that they're not gonna go out and buy one for a one-time move, but they're willing to pay you large sums of money because it's worth it to them to get it done.
Yep.
Right? And that's where you can make your living at, right?
Are you from a family of truckers, or are you first generation?
I have a large extended family. I can't think of anybody else in my family that is a trucker at all in any way.
So why or where or how did you get your license and decide to get into trucking?
Well, my parents had owned a chain of retail building materials retailers, right? That they owned a chain and sold all different kinds of products, from paint and hardware to complete kitchens, framing lumber, plywood, any kind of specialty item.
Okay.
They had some trucks to run stuff to deliveries, run stuff between stores. So I was around them from a young age, but not in the sense of being a trucker. It wasn't trucking for hire. You know, they were just Class B trucks.
Yep.
You know, nothing huge. And you know, I was around it enough. A great friend growing up. His father was a mechanic and worked on some real large cars, and some you still see at about every show that's around, and that's cool. But I saw some of that coming up, and looking back, I see the puzzle pieces fitting together. At the time, it just, you know, you're doing something, and you take the next step.
Right.
So when I was probably 16, I was working at a store, and you know, it was like a half crew on Saturdays because that store only serviced contractors. So we're closing up. I realized, hey, that 10-wheeler's still sitting out front, and can I move it inside? You know, being a young teenage guy, like, hey, yeah, like I'll drive something. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went out and figured it out. It was I bet you want to ask first truck. So that was like that was about a 1984 S1900 from International. It was a twin screw straight truck. It had a 24-foot body, the front 4 feet of which was stationary, the back 20 feet dumped. It had spoke wheels. It had a 13-speed direct, and rears, I guess, probably in the 456 range. And it had a DT466 motor, and
it was a truck you had to figure out how to drive.
Oh yeah, she was a pig, but good solid truck. So, you know, so I moved it in from out front to back in the yard and locked it up. So then from there, I didn't really have anything to do with trucks other than occasionally they'd send me out in a little rack body dually or something with, you know, window and door delivery or something small, because they just needed somebody to bring the stuff to a job.
Yep. And
it happened to be me because I'm the low man on the totem pole. So it had me run it out. So then I came home. I was like 21, and I was working in a warehouse, and I was working by myself. I would start like 4 in the morning, pick all these orders, build different orders to go to different places, and it sucked. It sucked because I was alone all day, and it got me thinking, like, wow, if I get hurt at like 4:15, no one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. I'm gonna be bleeding out down here. Nobody's gonna know. And you know, let's face it, I was making better than minimum wage, but not by a ton. So I related this to one of the guys that came in to pick stuff up, and he said, you know, this business you work for, like, they'll give you like a $2.50 an hour raise. if you get your CDL. Now, I wasn't making minimum wage, but I was probably making like 7 something an hour. So I was like,
Yeah.
$2.50 an hour.
That's a lot of money.
Hell yeah. So I looked into it, and I already had a pretty good idea how to operate a truck.
Right.
But I didn't know any rules about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know any laws. So from there, I went and I talked to a local school, and I said, give me whatever kind of test, like a road test or an inspection test, whatever. I read the book, got the permit, went there. I said, I got the permit. I don't really need your schooling. I'm not trying to be pretentious, but like I got an understanding of what I'm doing here. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, you could take an 8-hour refresher course, and it comes with a road test. You take an 8-hour refresher course, you take the test. It's X amount of dollars, and so I paid for that, and rode around, took the test, got a Class B. Because where I was working only had smaller trucks at the time.
Did that one you get a Class A or a Class B?
I got a Class B.
Okay.
And that was, at the time. And when I initially got it, I heard, a lot of people, oh, are you going to get a Class A? Are you going to buy trucks? Oh, are you going to have drivers? And this, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's, I'm not looking to do that. It got me a $2.50 an hour raise. It paid for itself the first month. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're better off having a license or an endorsement. You're better off having a license for any career path than not having it.
Yeah.
So I got it, and I worked there. I worked a couple other places, and I got a job somewhere that, let's see, I worked there for 11 months, and I was making like $17 an hour, and they would write the check. If you worked overtime, they never questioned anything. They wrote the check.
Okay.
So I would work Monday to Friday, and in 11 months, I made like just shy of $100,000. So like if you're breaking that out, that was a ton of hours every week, nonstop, and it sucked. And at the time, I was also trying to date a girl that was still in college because I had already taken some night courses and determined that wasn't going to work for me.
Okay.
Because I'm working for a living. I'm working 100 plus hours every week between Monday and Friday, and it sucked. But I made a lot of money. And, that just came to a head, and I was like, this place sucks. The people don't appreciate me. Because, yeah, they'd write the check, but like they would outright call you names, talk shit to you, show up drunk, smoke weed in the office, and like, I got nothing, whatever.
You guys do you, but I'm out here putting 100 hours in every
like,
week.
You guys are fucking shit up because you're high, and then somehow I'm the asshole. Like, nah, dude.
Right.
Like, I don't appreciate you essentially besmirching my name because you're too fucked up to do your job correctly.
Right.
Do it on your own time. You showed up here to do a job. I showed up here to do a job. Let's do it. Let's do it correctly. Like, first time, no fuck-ups.
Yep.
So, I quit that job, like, not even giving a fuck. because working that much, if you work 100 hours a week, you could make money at minimum wage because you don't have time to spend money on anything. Like, you're going to have money because you can't spend it.
Good point, yeah.
So, I had money stacked, and I was just like, fuck this place. Here's my letter of resignation. Like,
Gone.
Whatever. And
did you have a plan when you left, or just?
No, I gave him my 2 weeks
here.
notice. I started at like 3 a.m. on a Monday. I slid the, letter of resignation under the door with like, starting today, you got 2 weeks, whatever. It's early morning. I do all the stuff I got to do. I come back for my first load, and the manager's there, and he's like, "Oh, I saw it. I called the owner. He said you could just go." And I was like, "Good.
Bye.
Like, here's your fucking shirt, asshole." And I had nothing as like, this is what I'm going to do. So I sat down and I made a list. I said, and looking back, I've made lists a few times in my life, and it's worked out well for me. I made a list. I said, I want to make, more money per hour.
Yep.
Because at the time I was hourly. I want to make more money per hour. I want to work for people that aren't assholes. I want something that offers me more room for growth. because the position I had been in previously, some places had tried to promote me up to and including management positions, and I never took it because I was fairly young and I didn't feel confident in my ability to manage other people. But I wanted room for growth going forward, because a lot of places, if you take a job as a driver, you're going to be a driver, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to see forward motion, if you want to, do something different, you're stuck. You're stuck. That's the you might get a raise in pay, but you're never going to get a change in responsibility.
Correct.
So I wanted a place where I could move up if there was opportunity. I wanted someplace closer to home. I wanted someplace where they weren't essentially going to put it on me like, you got to get this done. Really that last job that I left, there was all those things that led up to it. The straw that broke the camel's back. I got back to the yard at like 9:30 on a Friday night. I'm already like that deep in hours for the week. And there's a note stuck to the board like, oh, drive to Philadelphia and pick up 2 pieces of like 4-foot ductile iron and bring them to Manhattan because they got a sewer line bust. It's like, you know what? Like, fuck you. Like, I don't need to be involved in this shit. Figure it out yourself. And like, they were calling me screaming all weekend, and I just didn't answer the phone because like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there comes a time where like, if it's that big of a deal, do it yourself.
Yeah.
Show some ambition. You own this place, right? You got all these other people working for you. Fuck you. I'm not the only one that could do it.
Yep.
And looking back, maybe that's not the right way to approach it. But when you work that much, and I've done it since, you work a lot and you're dog tired. Anything that anyone says, they're an asshole and you're mad about it.
Yep.
So I moved from that. I made this list of things that I wanted out of a new job. I applied at a bunch of places until I found a place. And it did not necessarily have the room for advancement in their company, but it was a good, locally owned, family-owned company with, I don't even remember, maybe it had 10, 12 employees that weren't like outside salesmen going chasing work down, hauling their own product throughout like the city and a little bit north into Connecticut, into Mass, Rhode Island. Great people, like some of the best people I've ever had the pleasure of working with, outside of, the company my parents owned, which, there was some really good people there.
Right.
And they were great people, down to earth, calm, collected, and did not expect you to do all kinds of every other place I ever...
hours.
Yeah, stupid hours and stupid shit. Every other place I ever worked. I remember the interview. He's like, well, you show up, you pre-trip your truck, the other guy loads your truck. You tie everything down, he does all your paperwork, comes out, hands you your paperwork, you ride around and kick the stops off. It was mixed load, multi-stop, flatbed loads, mostly masonry products.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And like, he's telling me based on what the stops are and this and that. I was like, yeah, okay. So what do you do, what do you do when you get back early? Like, well, you can check all the products on your load for tomorrow that are already going to be pulled. The yard guy will have it pulled and packaged. You can check all that out. You can wrap up mixed pallets if there's stuff like that. And I said, all right. And like, what other expectations do you have? And he's like, no, like you can just hang out until the end of the day. Whereas every other job I ever worked was like, oh, that tree needs to get cut down. Here's a chainsaw and a ladder.
Sweeping the
yeah, go figure it out. Like,
right.
And that was
rebuild that motor over there and cook us some dinner.
That's it. The forklift needs a service,
Yeah.
Rotate the tires, like it was anything, and that was what I had grown up with and expected. Nobody wants to hear that. It's not my job shit.
Yeah.
And that has served me well, because when you are your own carrier, you're servicing other businesses. People are hiring you because they want simplicity. They want to make a phone call and say, I have this load, it needs to go from here to here. When can you do it?
Yep.
And, from there, I got people that don't ask a price, which is nice, because they know I'll treat them fairly, but they're calling or texting, they just want somebody to get it done, no problems, no bullshit. They want, here's what I have, and I need it done. They don't want to deal with somebody that has a problem with everything they're trying to, get involved in. Oh, there's a problem with this. There's a problem with that. you know,
one phone call, essentially.
yeah, my
Here
father
it is.
told me when I was young, like, that's, you know, any asshole can find a problem. Successful people find solutions to problems and charge to solve other people's problems. That's a simplified version, but that's what he said, and it makes sense. At the end of the day, I learned a hell of a lot from my parents. They're very smart people. They know what the hell they're talking about. If you're trying to sell a service, whether in trucking or anything else, if you're selling a service, don't be the guy that finds problems, be the guy that finds solutions. Any asshole can find a problem. This is for you.
Listen up.
Yeah. So, you know, that was the situation. So I work for this local family-owned company. I worked for them for 3 years. Now, they were great to work for. I was single at the time. I didn't have a lot to tie me down. You know, I had a motorcycle. I had my own place. At the same time, you know, I was showing up every day for work at 6. They opened at 7. You know, I would get overtime like every Friday. I would get an hour or two because the run they put me on, I would come back an hour after they closed.
Okay.
Just based on what it was. And it was the same run every Friday. And come to find out afterwards is because everybody else that did it would come back with shit still on the truck and they would come back late.
Right.
And I never came back with stuff on the truck because it was an easy job. It was like, there's nothing to it. Like, you show up at places that you know, you see the same people all the time, you know where you're going, you know the product they're getting. Ta-da, here you are.
Yep.
Because it was an easy job and I was home on time every day. So I started thinking about that. And, you know, here it is. I'm 25 years old and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm pounding beer on a Tuesday sitting on my couch at 4 o'clock. And it's like, man, like, if you fast forward this story, it's probably not going to turn out awesome because, like, what do you do?
Right.
You know? And so from there, I started looking for part-time jobs to fill time.
Okay.
You know? At the time, every Wednesday, I would go have dinner with my grandmother. And that was really important to me. It was really important to me to be, you know, involved with my family, to people that really meant something to me. So Tuesday nights, I would go to my parents. Wednesday nights, I go to my grandmother's. You know, do the things that they appreciate you doing. And being part of a family. Now, I started looking for part-time jobs because outside of that in church, you know, you meet girls, but like, and what? What's going to fill the rest of your time? I might as well build something going forward. Let me see what else can be done. I look at all these different jobs. It's tough to find a job that somebody's going to hire you for just a couple hours. You know, outside of, for instance, we're parked next to a Lowe's. My cousin works at that Lowe's 6 nights a week.
Okay.
To pay for his divorce.
Okay.
And he's one hell of a good man. You know, he works full-time as an engineer, probably an hour and a half from here. 5 days a week, he comes here. He does overnight stock and all that. Just making things happen.
Right.
And so I was looking for something like that. Well, okay. But then I start thinking like, well, I already have this CDL. Maybe somebody give me an afternoon job. At this point, I'm working 40 hours a week and I ain't driving 40 hours a week.
Yep.
You know? So I started looking at that. Well, most of the CDL driver jobs that I saw at that time were like, oh, if you're an owner-operator, you could lease onto somebody. And they're throwing around all kinds of numbers like you see.
Yep.
And at the time, I was like, well, shit. You know, like, I'm lucky to gross 40 grand a year.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, like, they're talking 6 figures. You could really make shit happen. Like, yeah, all right. So I started looking into it. And then I came to the conclusion, because I've been saving money the whole time, I come to the conclusion that, like, okay, I could do it, but I'm not quite ready to do it. I need like another 6 months. So I went to my employer at the time and I said, look, man, like, this is a wonderful place to work. And I'm giving you like 6 months notice. You know, the last day of September is going to be my last day. You know, this is where I'm at. This is my plan going forward. This is what I'm going to do. Dude, like, you know, gracious, respectful. The first week I have my truck, he's calling me up like, hey, you know, like, are you working? And like, do you want some work?
Oh, really?
Like, I'll hire you to haul product, like this, that, and the third. And, you know, great people and thoughtful and, you know, people that make things happen.
Yeah.
You know, and they still call me from time to time and have me do stuff for them. They're wonderful people, you know. They truly are. And I've been blessed in my life to run across more than my deserved share of great people.
Of good people. So when did you launch your own authority?
Is it 2012 or 2013? Must have been 2013.
Okay.
And
You've been at it 9 years now.
Yeah, that's what it would be. So I had bought this truck initially. It had a 60-inch flat top. I bought it from the original owner, Mr. Chuck Frisbee from Greer, South Carolina. Wonderful man. He had this beauty in awesome shape. I called him on a Tuesday. We talked for 45 minutes to an hour. You know, he thought I was some young guy who didn't know shit from shit, but he was a good guy. I said, I'm going to be down there on Saturday. And, you know, I worked all week, and on Friday I got my father's pickup truck with my parents and drove to South Carolina and met him in the morning. He couldn't believe it. Like, you know, I had called him in between to be like, yeah, like, this, you know,
away.
This ain't no bullshit. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to be there. And he was like, you know, but like, I show up, and the whole reason it went down, he's just having one of those days where everybody has these days. You own your own truck, you own your own shit, and you're just like, man, you have a bad day, you're like, fuck this shit, I'll sell all of this, I don't even give a fuck, I'll work for the town, I don't even give a shit.
Right.
I'll get rid of all this shit.
Yep.
And he was having one of them days, and
Throw the toys out of the cot days.
yeah, but then next thing you know, I showed up a couple days later with full price in hand, and like, are you a man of your word or not? Like, you got it. So he had to like clean all his shit out. He was like, fuck, like, you know, it's not what you expected to happen. But, you know, tons of records. We filled up my father's pickup, 8-foot bed to the bedsides with spare extra shit, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, great guy. And so I bought my own truck. I was leased for 3 years to the day to a flatbed outfit and running New England, New York City, Jersey. Pretty much all construction related stuff.
They handled the dispatch.
They handled dispatch, trailers, customer relations. You handled hooking the right preloaded trailer, getting it to the right place, and don't hit shit, I guess. Like,
You take care of the PAL unit, drive the stuff in the story.
that's it. And to that end, I would say, when you're leasing to a carrier, there's a lot to consider. We got 70%. Oh, that's not enough. Dude, I had to provide a tractor and a winch bar and plates for the tractor.
Everything else is taken care of.
Yeah, and it was like all new, predominantly Rettenauer trailers. New shit. They provided tarps, securement, straps, edge protectors. So they provided straps, edge protectors, new trailers, dispatch. They paid you every Friday for whatever you did the previous week. You know, they had some kind of fuel card. They had all kinds of like, oh, you could get a discount if you get shit worked on at their central shop. They'll give you it at whatever rate they pay their guys, which I never took advantage of a bunch of those things because it wasn't convenient to me.
Where were we?
Somewhere about...
Launching your own authority.
Yeah. So I was in a position where if I was going to keep on being leased where I was going to be bitched at every week unless I didn't work at night, and that would cost me about $1,000 a week in revenue on an average week. So I decided that, hey, you know what? I'll look for another opportunity. The area I work in is not rife with great places to lease on that'll get you home or make you any money.
Yep.
Realistically. So I went on my own. So I was leased for 3 years to the day and canceled that. I purchased a all aluminum spread axle flat used off a guy that was on the forum RBHT.
Okay.
I want to say his name was. I believe that's who it was. I don't remember now. So I didn't buy it off him. He was on the forum, put it up for sale. Somebody local bought it. I saw it for sale shortly thereafter on like Craigslist or one of them. And I bought because all I ever did was, you know, generic flatbed work, whether multi-stop or full load. I figured, hey, you know, this is the most versatile piece of equipment you could get. It was a 4896 Ravens. It was like a 2000 or a 2001 model year.
Yep.
10-1 spread, all aluminum wheels, boxes. It came with these big disassemblable log bunks that were like heavy as fuck that I actually gave to somebody else from the forum that
Needed them.
couldn't even tell you who it was. It was a fella that had a Western Star and he was up north of Albany. Nice guy. And he did some logging and I said, hey, you know what, like you're only a couple hours away or whatever. We talked on the phone a little bit. I said, you know, welcome to him. I don't remember that I even got money for that because it was just one of those like, what the hell do you do with 1,000 pounds of 4-inch steel box? Like that doesn't help. If you don't haul logs, you don't need that.
Right.
So yeah, I went around, I started cold calling people and I had an outrageous success rate. You know, Jesus Christ, this shit is easy. You know, anybody could do this. Well, come to find out, a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people, and I'm not here to say I'm special, just a lot of people can't put together what you need to present to a customer to make a sale. Much the same as if you're going to go purchase something, you can deal with somebody at that place of business that turns you off enough that you don't buy it from them.
Right, yep.
Now, you know, think about it like somebody showing up at your door trying to sell you something you may or may not need. Pretty unlikely you're going to buy what they got to sell in the first place. However, there's things you can do to
better your chances.
Better your chances, certainly. And, you know, you show up with good, clean equipment and good repair, know the product, know who they are, know the people's names, know what that product is used for, what type of people buy it, what area they sell it to. You want to know all these things. You don't walk in blind, oh, I got a truck, I can help you out. Hey, you want to not make a sale? Because that's how you don't make a sale. If you don't know, if you're some dumb fuck with a truck, what are you bringing to the table other than possible available capacity in a supply and demand world? That's all you could bring.
Yep.
If you're working, you know, spot market and don't know anybody and don't know who has the what, who has the work out of a given area, if you don't know that, you're undervaluing yourself because you don't have a better frame of reference.
Right.
You know, when you're approaching direct customers, you got to know more than the average schmuck broker that's calling them, you know, hey, we can move your freight cheaper than anybody.
We got some consumer goods and appliances.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the old
40,000
standby.
pounds.
The old,
Legal.
old chestnut.
Yeah.
Consumer goods. If you're approaching a customer, because not for nothing, dude, I've had brokers call me because I'm listed as a local business in a given area. I've had brokers straight up call me like, oh, hey, you know, we're just reaching out to local businesses and seeing how we can help move your freight. And it's like, yeah, what kind of business am I in? Well, whatever it is, we can help you move freight. And it's like,
no, you can't.
yeah, like, all right. You didn't do any background, but at the same time, they're just cold calling people all day. That's initially, first and foremost, what you're going to be up against. How can you differentiate yourself from that group of people? And what's more, how do you qualify customers? Because somebody that would respond to that ain't a person you want as a customer anyway, 9 times out of 10. I mean, as I said, I was working for a place, they've called me, and I've done work for them. I don't even remember what the hell the conversation was. I was talking to the owner one day. He busted out and was like, oh, this is Josh from TQL. How can we help you today? And like had the whole fucking spiel because he's like, yeah, they call me like 3 times a week. He don't even move that much stuff. And he's got 5 of his own trucks. He doesn't really need help.
But they're calling him all the time.
They're calling him all the time.
And have no idea what he does. Apart from, we've got trucks.
apart
we
from
don't have trucks.
apart
we
from
can get you a truck.
if they look, they look at Manta, they look at one of those other online services that tells you approximations for a company. That tells you year they're founded, current address, telephone
Phone number, address,
general industry they're in, and expected annual sales.
Right.
Now,
that really doesn't say anything about.
It doesn't generally tell you nearly enough information to approach somebody. However, when they see a company that, it's been around for 100 years, 20 years, whatever, it does $10 million in gross revenue a year. They know you got money to pay for trucking.
Yep.
And they want to be the one digging in your pocket. So that's what they're doing all day, is just cold calling people all day. Now, if somebody wants that type of relationship where they just want the cheapest broker and just hand them off some bullshit, that's probably not who you want to service as a carrier. Because if all you can sell on is price, you're going to lose that customer for price. Because if you have to get to work by being the cheapest guy, the next cheapest guy is going to take
knock you out your spot.
And realistically, that's a stupid way to, if you're operating a small business, you can't run on margins that thin that would even make sense.
Right.
When you compare a small carrier to a medium carrier, the cost to operate certainly decreases per unit the more trucks you got. But you can never be
competitive with
Do you remember when Double Yellow was talking about essentially competing with big box carriers and mega fleets? He did great, dude. He had numbers down to a point that we could get into that later. I don't do math like that. That ain't really worth my time to sit there and figure it all out.
That's some calculus math going on there that he had. And it was great. A lot of information in there.
It was super insightful. That said, economies of scale, you can't compete or work on the kind of margins that they can with 1,000 trucks or 2,000, whatever the hell it is. You can't work on those margins. I got to make enough money for me, right? If I'm a one truck chuck, I got to make enough money at the end of the day for every day I work to not only pay for that day, I got to be able to pay for all the days I don't work.
Right.
I got to pay for all the things that I would have otherwise if I was an employee somewhere. I have to pay for, my own health care. I have to pay for holidays. I got to pay for whatever personal shit that you would, not worry about. Vacation time, sick days, whatever. You got to figure all that into it, and that's got to come out of the revenue you make every time you do work, which is, you had touched on earlier, day rates and revenue per day that you're out. You have to have that number figured into it, because at the end of the day, when you talk about a mileage, such and such per mile.
$3 a mile. Well, that's great, but how many miles did you run?
That's it.
How much did you make that day? How many days did it take you to do that $3 a mile run, or whatever it is?
That's it. I mean, you can't solely base your calculations on one aspect of your business.
Nor one leg of a triangle or.
No, I got to be honest. I have looked at rate per mile as an afterthought, typically year end.
Right.
Because the last year, my own authority, that it was just me, I ran 62,500 and change miles, 541 I think, 62.5 something. You can't look at per mile. That's not really going to be an effective number. You know what I mean? Okay, you ran 62,500 and something miles doing general freight throughout New England, and you're home every single night. I did a total of 5 oversized loads that entire calendar year.
Yep.
You can't look at rate per mile as a as long as I clear this, because if, I spent I don't even remember, $19,000 on tolls that year too.
Wow. Okay.
And I spent, I don't remember what the hell the number was at the moment. It was $42,000 in fuel. Which fuel was not $5-6 a gallon at the time. But I think it ended up coming out to, dude, it came out to some crazy low as a percentage of gross revenue. It came out to some crazy ass low number, because at the end of the day, you're running fairly local. You're burning the shit out of some fuel, because if you don't make that deadline fill in the blank. You know, I'm leaving in the morning. I'm making 5 or 6 stops. I got to get them all off by 3 o'clock because I got to be at a different place at 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, pick that up to be ready for the next day. If you didn't get that last stop off, you can't show up at the next place and be like, oh, yeah, you know, sorry. You know, it don't work like that.
You got to get there.
Yeah, you got to make shit happen. You know, I do enjoy seeing pictures from other places. Like somebody posted a picture, this is probably 5, 6 or more years ago, posted a picture on the forum, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't think what's in your picture, I don't think there's that much straight road in the state I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
you can't see that far.
Yeah. We
really
live not too far from Kansas, where they say you can stand on the front porch and watch your dog run away for a week.
Yeah, I've heard that saying.
Yeah.
I've never been out there. I mean, it's different. And I mean, let's face it, I live in this state, and it's harder to want to every week that passes. That said, you know, going forward, it is tougher every week to want to live here for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is, dude, you were saying it coming up here yesterday, how, like, you come up this way and it just starts building and you're like, this place fucking sucks. Like, people are assholes. Like, just...
It actually started about the New York border on
Yeah.
84, and then by the time we got to Connecticut border, it's like, these people are out of their minds and they're trying to kill me, I'm sure.
And, you know, growing up, running the city, running Connecticut some, which I didn't do till a little bit later, but, like, that was the norm.
Right.
But that can fuck up your day more than any hill.
Have you tried hiring drivers, employees, expanding the business?
So initially,
How many trucks do you have? Let's start with that.
I have 2 trucks that I own. At the moment, I have 5 trailers. I've got a guy leased to me. He's got a brandy new Peterbilt. He's been with me 1st of November will be 4 years, so he'll be getting his bonus.
Okay.
You know. Initially, before I had hired him, or leased him on, before I had considered hiring anyone, I interviewed a variety of people talking about essentially company driver jobs because I had 2 tractors at the time. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, you can't play with my toys. I don't like the way other people operate shit, and
Yeah.
I would not say I am OCD. I would not say that I'm...
You're OCD?
I would not say that I am fussy, as some
You
people
are
would
fussy?
say. But I would say I am particular.
Yeah.
I
Which is fine. It's your stuff.
well, it's not just my stuff. I'm particular with pretty much everything.
Yep.
Like, I don't, you know, that leads to repeat customers, because no matter what you think, if you show up dressed dirty, wearing the wrong shit, like you don't know what you're doing, there's somebody, that third part is the somebody that's watching you out the window that you can't see, watching you fuck up in their yard for 45 minutes. Now, I've had people come out after the fact that I've been servicing for years. Dude, most of the time I load my own shit in the middle of the night with their equipment. I got the keys to the whole place and everything because I don't like other people touching my shit. Like, I just don't like it.
You know the rub rails aren't going to get banged up
Yeah.
by the forklift driver if you're loading it yourself, even if it is in the middle of the night.
That's it. And, you know, and there's plenty of places I go that people get...
Attitude?
Yeah, they get real fucking uppity about, like... Because I'm like, look, like, and I'm like, oh, what are you going to give me a lesson? Yeah, I fucking will.
Yep.
Like, this ain't, you know, I don't run show equipment, but goddamn, don't fuck up my shit.
Yeah.
I paid a lot of money for this.
And it costs to fix it.
Yeah. You know, and I had a buddy busting my balls a couple years ago about why I don't buy, you know, all these all aluminum nice Mack trailers like he's got. And since then I have started that. However, this trailer I'm hooked to right now is a Transcraft. It's a 654 flatbed. That means it's allegedly rated for 65,000 pounds and 4 feet.
Yep.
It's got a heavy beam. It's got C-channel sides. It's got an air ride, air slide, tandem that's closed. It's built. It's built, and I bought it for that reason because go to a job site and have somebody. I'm usually the first guy for job sites. I'm usually the first guy there. I'm bringing shit when they're digging the hole, whether it's super sacks of aggregate products that they're using to pour columns. You know, whether
the plastic product you bring to them,
the plastic stuff for drainage that goes underground. You know, if you're bringing all the corrugated shit that sets around the outside of a job site, anything, all those things are precursors to it being a nice soft level ground where somebody with a piece of forklift equipment is going to pick it off.
Yep.
So if you show up with something nice in aluminum and they're like, well, we got an excavator with a chain, which is not
not unusual.
Yeah, it is not uncommon. Okay, well, this has a double thick wood deck. You know, it has, what does it have under there? The cross members are like 10 or 12 inches on center, front to back. They don't even have like, that ain't even including the coil package underneath and all that. Like, that trailer right there.
It's pretty hard to bust that trailer.
Yeah. That trailer's like 13,000 pounds by itself, and it ain't nothing special.
Oh, wow, okay.
It don't stretch. It don't have...
It's just built.
Yeah. And like, oh, Transgraph's a junk brand. Well, like, yeah. Well, if you expect your shit to be trashed, you might as well buy something that you think, like, okay, this will take a lot of abuse, and so what if it does? Like, I bought brand new shit, and I've been buying brand new shit. You know, I would rather have something that's overbuilt. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you know, you got a really nice piece of equipment, not to say that you can't keep it nice, but it really, like, your stress levels are going to be higher. I mean, some of the shit I do, it's not thrilling. They ask you to do something and you do it, you solve their problem. They don't care
what the bill is,
what you charge them. Like, did you get it done? Great, write them the check.
Yep.
Like, they don't want to hear some, like, oh, well, it's going to fuck up my trailer deck, so I made it.
Right.
Yeah, tell them that.
Yeah.
Tell them that.
See how much more work you get.
Yeah.
So employee drivers, have you got one at the moment or had them in the past?
I interviewed a bunch of people and sorry to digress off your track there, but I interviewed a bunch of people, didn't particularly care for the way most people operated my shit. At the end of the day, there's a reason people are employees.
Yes.
You know, and there's a lot of sides to that.
Yep.
But not the least of which is, oh, it's not mine.
Right.
No matter how much they care, at the end of the day, there's things that they do that you ain't gonna like because it's yours, and you know, yeah.
I'm not doing it.
And
I was an employee then, so
yeah.
You know, like
and you do what you're told.
Yep.
But like, I don't run. You know, I don't run show equipment. But at the same time, I don't run, you know, a short-nosed Cascadia that, like, yeah, you know, it has 3 gauges and a fucking low oil light. Like, I don't run that either. So I really don't want to have. I don't want to have somebody, you know, destroying my shit. I want somebody that cares enough, that has some skin in the game. And at the same time, I'm not here to take advantage and take all the money that somebody's making and pay them as little as possible. I don't see a lot of anti-capitalist people are big on that bullshit that, like, oh, well, like, you're just trying to strip all the revenue out of, like, every person that works from you. And I really don't look at it like that. I'm looking at it like, I hired extra people because I was working 120 hours a week and fucking sucked. It doesn't matter if it's yours or somebody else's, it fucking sucks. It sucks. Like, you know, I had, you know, one of my kids now went to Sunday school and drew some picture about how, like, you know, this is my household, and it had a picture of a guy in blue jeans with a big shiny belt buckle sitting on the couch yelling at somebody over something. And it's like, yeah, like, you know what? I saw that and I was like, man, I got to change what I'm doing. Cause, like, that isn't a long-term plan. You know, you can't be always working too hard. And really, what it get me? That was the last year I was on my own solo.
Yep.
I ran 62-something thousand miles, and I did like $365,000 in gross revenue on that. Yeah, but it was a lot of really long
work,
days.
a lot of stress, and long days.
Yeah, and like, where does that really lead you at the end of the day? It doesn't show your kids with the value of having people that are important to you in their sphere. It doesn't show them that. It shows them that you value money more than them.
Right.
And
you can't give them that argument, well, you know, the bills have got to be paid and roof over your head and blah, 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 because they're not in that world yet. All they see is, like you say, you know, the guy with blue jeans, belt buckle on, yelling at him from the couch, and that's not fun.
Yeah. And you know, people say, like, oh, you can always make more money, which...
Was it that
that
one...
could go either way.
No one says on their deathbed that they wish they'd work more?
Yeah.
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 Or Brent's fan doesn't follow a hearse?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't take it with you and all of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can never give them more time.
Nope.
You know, so I had met the woman I'm with, my partner of coming up on 10 years now, and she's wonderful and incredible, and that's what inspired me to get my own authority, because I wanted to be either make more money to justify being out so that I could be home for longer periods of time, or be home more.
Yep.
And doing that has afforded me both, but I wouldn't have done that because I was satisfied being leased on, staying out all week. And she never said, you're fucking killing yourself. But that's essentially what was intimated. Like, you know, you're doing a lot of work here, and like, where is it really getting you? What's, you know, if I had kept going the way I was going, it would have drastically shortened my life. And I'm not saying I'm here to live to 100, but like,
it wears on you.
Yeah. And
stress wears on you.
Yeah, and you're always trying to make deadlines, and, you know, my word is everything to me. If I say it's going to get done,
it gets done.
It gets done, and I don't give a fuck what it costs. I will make it happen. I just got a new customer the other day from... I approached somebody... I don't even remember when. I approached somebody within the last 6 months. I just rolled in, and I started talking to them, and I said, hey, I see this is the kind of product coming in and out of here. What's the deal? Well, we manufacture it here. I said, all right, well, I hauled this product for 4 other people, which was almost true.
Yep.
I hauled it for a couple other people. You know, this is the kind of service we offer. This is the area we typically cover. And usually when you offer that, right, you're just having a, hey man, how's it going type of sales pitch, because you're just feeling them out. You're trying to see what they're about.
Right.
And generally right there, people will ask you for a rate on something. You know, well, what would you charge to do this? And they're going to see how it stacks up to either whoever else they use for trucking, whatever a broker has quoted them, or what they feel it's worth, which, that last one is really important. Chris, Mr. Roland Cole at TTR, I picked that up from him, that like, you really got to think about what it's worth to them, because it's not necessarily a number that you would expect.
Right.
Right? But based on that is like, okay, they're probably going to ask you. I don't remember if he even did at that point, but he called me up a couple weeks ago. Hey, I'm going to have 4 loads coming from here, going right back to my shop, blah, blah, blah. I got the kid leased to me doing one right now. He did 3 of them this week on top of a bunch of other stuff. Now, that is where it's key. Having more people isn't so that you can take all the money they're making and try to keep as much of it as possible and fucking hold them down. That's not what I ever wanted to be a part of, right? I needed help. Because as one man, you can only do so much as one man can do in a day.
Right.
Doesn't matter how good you are at it. You're still one person. And I needed...
Had it been only you, you would have had to said to the guy, sorry, can't cover it. You know, I'm busy doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah, or it would have been some fucked up schedule. He's getting some stuff imported. He needs it. I don't go to ports. Fuck ports.
Not a fan either.
Howsoever, right? So he's getting something imported. It's showing up at ports. It's getting taken off site, so he's not paying whatever bullshit fee they give you at ports for leaving shit there for too long. But it's getting taken somewhere else and pulled out of all these containers, and he needs it brought to a different location. So, okay, I give him a rate. We're making shit happen. But he needed to have it done, like, you needed 4 loads done in like, I don't even remember. Initially, it was like essentially a 30-hour period.
Oh, okay.
And as one person, I suppose you could have probably accomplished that as one person, except that you can't also service other people. You can't put something on the other side of that. And you're running harder for nothing because, oh, well, it's empty miles and, oh, you're getting paid round trip. Yeah. The idea here is to maximize revenue for the amount of work that you do, whether it's limiting the amount of time that you spend on a given task,
Yep.
or you want to get paid round trip. Yeah, you want to get paid round trip each way. Like
That'll be, yeah.
That's what the fuck are we doing? Like, you know, ideally you get paid enough to, you know, you just did this load coming up here. You got paid enough to go get the thing, come all the way up here, and go home empty, and you still made a good amount of money for yourself, right?
Yep.
Oh, it's specialized equipment. Doesn't really matter what it is. At the end of the day, ideally, you get somebody that pays for the whole fucking trip on each part of the whole trip. You're specializing because of the equipment that you have and the things that you can do. Now, I've done some pretty good oversized stuff in the past. That's not really what I chase because for the most part, most of the stuff that I'm going to be interested in, I'm not really looking at like, oh yeah, I hauled 120,000 pound load. Like, that doesn't really interest me.
Not doing it for bragging rights or doesn't.
Yeah. I don't have the equipment for that currently, and not to say I couldn't just go out and buy it.
No, neither do I for the weight.
Yeah, like it just doesn't appeal to me for a variety of reasons. And you know, there's less people that can do that, so obviously that's an area that somebody can make some good coin in. I spoke earlier, you know, you want to be the guy that solves problems, not finds problems.
Yep.
Don't solve all their problems.
Yeah.
So let's just say that somebody needed a heavy 10-wheel flatbed truck and you had one, and they needed you to haul fucking half-size mafia blocks from Connecticut to Manhattan, go down to the World Trade Center or the UN building or whatever else, and you just made some fucking money on that. And then after you did it for a while, you were like, you know, let me solve your problem. If you just bought cardboard cutouts, cardboard boxes are this size, if you just brought them here and filled them with cement, because they were used for stage weights, you just have your weight right there. You fill them to a certain line, and then you could just throw them in a fucking dumpster and get rid of them. It'd be cheaper. You could probably do that 10 times for what I'm charging you to bring them down here and bring them back.
Guess what happened?
Yeah. You know who never fucking called me again because they started filling cardboard boxes with cement? Hey, don't solve all their problems. It's not your job to solve all their problems. It's your job to solve the problem you're presented with.
That's a good story, actually.
Oh, is that a good story?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
How
I last 30 grand a year because I'm fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, learned something out of it, though, didn't you?
I did, and that's a key in life is learning as much as you can from as many people as you can. You know, I learned from Chris, Mr. Roland Cole at TTR. That guy's on point, man. Like we do very different things. The way he described like negotiating with people, and he's dealing with people that I really probably would never deal with because I don't fucking like that kind of people. You know, he had great success. Remember, he was telling us about dealing with TQL and whatnot.
Oh, yep.
Like, dude, I have never hauled a load for them. I took like 10 of their phone calls when my authority was new, and I blocked every number they called from. They still try to text me on cell phones. And I have, if I post an available truck, it says no TQL in caps 4 times between every sentence else I put. Because I don't want to hear their shit. Like, and I just
miss the fact.
And there's a couple other people that are listed in the, you know this or know that. Because I don't have like, I don't know, man. I take shit too serious.
That's probably a little bit rare is flipping it like that. Is they're probably not used to drivers saying, well, I don't want to deal with you as a broker, you as a broker, or
yeah.
And it's the same with these guys. Is there's certain agents I will not deal with for a variety of reasons. Normally it's the other way around. Well, the driver has to have this, that, and the other, and we've got all this criteria to meet, but what, we don't flip it back on them?
Yeah, well, fuck them. I mean, dude, the end of so a lot of people get on TTR and cry about brokers. You remember a couple years ago, oh, they need to be
they're doing it as we speak.
Yeah, regulated and see their rates and all. I don't really I don't give a shit. I don't work with brokers enough to feel like I need them in my life. I can see that they fill a void, and there is something to be gained from that, because there are I do deal with a couple brokers, because occasionally you get something that's kind of outside your sphere.
Yep.
And it lands you in a place that, yeah, dude, you charge round trip. Yeah, that's true. But if you charge, you charge round trip to go somewhere with great paying freight coming back, and not to say that I haven't deadheaded back from Pittsburgh repeatedly because I'm stupid, but sometimes you just you got the time, you know what I mean? And it's free money. It's free money.
Yep.
If you're coming from Pittsburgh to New England, they pay you extra because 9 times out of 10 you're probably going back empty.
Yeah.
You gotta make that play. So you do meet a few people, deal with a few people, but
it's worthwhile opening up the board and having a look.
It is, and you wanna have that ability to earn as much as you can, because that's what we're all here for, right? I mean, I love trucks. That said, trucking is fun because I get to use trucks. And, what's the cool next thing I could do to this or modify that, or how can I solve a problem I don't have with a truck?
Yep.
So, when dealing with people, Chris was describing the way to negotiate and things you listen for. And it one of those light bulb moments where you're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because what you're listening for catchphrases, you're listening for, what do they call, hot button words. You're listening for the way they talk.
Yep.
Because, I mean, you run across somebody, the average everyday broker, if you got to call them and they got some 48, if you got a flatbed, they got a 48,000 pound load at 48 feet, consumer goods, going from here to here, whether they have a rate on it or not. That's probably some cheap shit. And if you're calling them, you're probably about to hear all about some cheap shit. And
good load, strap and go. No touch freight.
No touch freight, yeah. That's probably not what you want. Now, if you get somebody calling you, okay, so that's 1 point on your side already, right? But you're listening to what they're saying.
Yep.
Because if they're on some oh, this, that, and the third, and don't really care, okay, are they trying to play it cool? Or are
right.
they? Or are they?
Or are they in a spot?
Yeah. Because I got to tell you, if somebody, I ain't scared. I'll dig in somebody's pockets. If you get somebody that you don't know, that you didn't even look at a load, they just see you're a carrier based in a given area, and they're going to call you at 6, 7 o'clock on a Friday night talking about, can you pick this up tomorrow on a Saturday and run it straight through?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You're going to be buying me, 10 new fucking tires for what I'm going to charge you for it.
Yep.
Minimum as an opener, and I don't give a shit where. I don't give a shit if it goes 200 miles.
Yes, I'm available, and this is my rate.
I will absolutely make it happen, And in the past, I did chase money, and I looked where it got me. On the same token, I don't work fucking Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving Eve for no money.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that really will get you. So knowing that, that's why I started to look I got to spread this out. I got to have more guys. Because there's only so many times you could call a friend that's somewhat local that has their own motor carrier and be like, hey, can you help me out? You can ask that favor, and you pay them good for it. You can't call them every single day.
No.
You know what I mean? You really can't ask for help in that way.
Eventually they're going to tell you need to buy some more trucks or drivers or something.
Or they just got something else going on.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, you're not subbing to guys that suck, or at least I'm not.
Right.
I can't charge a premium rate and then have somebody that sucks show up.
No.
So they already offer that to other people. You're offering a service. You got to be the one that provides great service. So if you're subbing work to somebody else that's a buddy trying to help you out, hey man, Go to this place. This dude's going to give you this paperwork. You know, when you show up to deliver, I already told him to have a check ready for you. Okay. Except that he ain't going to be able to say yes every single time. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Right.
And let's face it, supply and demand says that the stuff that pays the best is stuff that sucks and nobody wants to do it. It's on too short of a time frame. There's something else about it, fill in the blank with what, or it has weird equipment that who the hell has that. At the time, I had a lot more dedicated work on a regular kind of schedule, and I'd fill in with all the other stuff. You know, because he wanted home everyday work. He wanted no tarp. Fill in the blank. You know. So when I interviewed all these people, the question I would ask is, what do you not do? What do you not do?
Yeah, good question.
And, you know, everybody and their brother wants to tell you how they'll do anything, because that's that honeymoon phase. They'll do anything. Oh, okay. Well, do you run 8-foot tarps? Do you do, 6 stops in the 5 boroughs? Do you do oversize? Do you take loads that you're going to be on the road 2 days? Which I realize to the OTR crowd, that ain't shit. Except that if you work, if you're home for dinner every night, it's a lot harder to convince somebody to suddenly take loads that you're going to be in a hotel the next couple of nights. You're going to, this guy that's leased to me, like I already know, next Thursday and Friday, and I think the following Monday, he wants off. And I knew that a month ago because his kid's going to be in some big BMX race. And at the end of the day, that matters a hell of a lot more than any kind of trucking, especially to him, you know.
Yep.
Fuck trucking. He's there for his family. Like, we're making this money to pay bills, yes, but it's to support our lifestyle and our family and come up in the world. And at the end of the day, when I look at capitalism and running a business, it's not about stripping money out of somebody that's working for me. It's about we all build each other up and work towards success. We all want to be professionals. We all want to bring the best to the table that we can. We all want to succeed. We all want to be happy with life and where it leads us, where it gets us.
Any tips to others for success in the industry?
Well, say what you mean what you say. That's pretty basic. What you bring to the table, recognize your ability and skill, understand your market, know your value. These are all good, cliches people give out. They are all accurate. I mean, you want to understand what a customer's looking for. You want to be able to qualify them. You could apply this to brokers. I don't know that it'd be worthwhile. What does your customer want? You can apply it to brokers in terms of supply and demand, I suppose.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you want to be able to approach somebody and sell them on the idea that you are the best person for the job. I don't want customers that their first and probably only question is how much you're going to charge me. Growing up, it was impressed upon me that when you're applying for a job, if you're the guy that applies for a job and the first or only question is what does it pay, I'm probably not going to hire you. That's, from a guy that had hundreds of employees at a time. If I'm interviewing somebody and that's the only question they ask, I'm not going to hire him.
Right.
And he wasn't, it's not like he was the guy that was always looking for the cheapest person. It just, if that's all you got to offer is, how much can I take you for?
Yeah.
That's not, somebody that's looking for good service probably isn't looking for that kind of service. Same as, the flip side of it. I'm not looking for somebody that's only shopping on price, because you'll lose them to price. I want to be able to do the things that I'm the guy. One call does it all, whatever the fuck. Yep. You want to, they just send me, they're like, hey, can you reserve this day for me? You want to be able to show up at a customer and they're just like, yeah, this is what you're getting today. Like, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for, a regular customer, you want a customer that respects what you're doing and knows that you know what you're doing. Set it and forget it. They know it's going to show up correct. They know it's going to show up undamaged at the right place. You know,
Financially wise, did you pay cash for your truck when you
Yep.
bought it?
I did.
Would that be the better way to go in? Are you not a fan of finance? Are you risk averse?
I don't
when it
finance.
comes to- Okay.
I pay for stuff. I don't finance. That said, that's me personally. That said, up until rather recently, you've been able to get some finance rates on things that, like, I am not a guy that finances stuff. But it was hard not to consider, like, well, I mean, you could make more money not spending your own money.
Yep.
And there is something to be said for that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got $100,000 and you go spend $100,000 on equipment, you now have a depreciating piece of equipment. It's worth less every day that you own it.
Right.
Okay. Now you're not making the money from the ownership of that item. You're making it by utilizing that tool to build you more money coming back, to build you a return. Now, if you could borrow money at 0.9%, you put 10 grand down and you're paying 2 grand a month, you still have the full depreciation or whatever schedule you choose to follow, 4 years, 5 years of depreciation, you still have that available to you, but you didn't have to pay it out of pocket to get there.
Right.
Okay, so you did buy that, you financed it. In the course of a year, it cost you bought it in June or July, it still cost you like in the realm of 20 grand out of pocket after your down payment and your 6 months worth of payments. Come the end of the year, you still got that money in your pocket. And certainly utilizing that piece of equipment ought to have made you at least what the payment was on top of whatever you were making before. To me, I purchased this truck for 30 grand, and that was 2010. I ate a lot of Chef Boyardee, SpaghettiOs, cold out of the can in the dark, and it was worth it. It was worth it every day every day of the week, every day of the year. It has been worth it. Everyone has struggles, ups and downs. I was working for somebody else, not really making a ton of money. I could have lived on it. I never would have been in the situations that I have been in, met the people that I have met, or been in such, wonderful places in my life had I continued on that path. I wouldn't have had those options.
Right.
You
certainly wouldn't have been happy with it.
No, definitely not. I mean, when you're in a position where we live in America and this is a capitalist nation, at the end of the day, land of the free. The more money you got, the freer you are. People talk about there's 2 sets of rules. Yeah, because if you're broke, it don't matter what you do, you're going to jail. The end. If you're rich, you do the same stupid shit over and over and over again, and somehow every time you go home.
Right.
How she goes. So you want to work towards being in a position where you are financially independent, where you don't, and I guess that's where I take my don't borrow money from.
Right.
It just, if I don't have the money to just pay for it, I don't buy it.
Might not buy happiness, but it certainly reduces stress levels.
Yeah.
Because, if you're cold, wet and hungry with no roof over your head, that's kind of stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. The lack, money's the root of all evil. It's the lack of money. Because if you don't have any money, you're desperate. You're in a desperate situation. You don't have food, water, or shelter. You don't have warmth. You're going to be desperate. You're going to do what it takes to meet those base needs. And what can you do to better achieve that and be happy is not be in that situation. You can, money can't buy happiness is something a lot of rich people say. And that's true. Howsoever, if it's probably 55, 60 degrees right now, light breeze and raining. If we knew we were sleeping outside tonight, we wouldn't be sitting here like,
chit-chatting about
fucking life's good. Not giving a fuck, because we would be stressed. Where are we going to get our next meal? How are we going how are we going to live tonight without getting sick from just being out here exposed all the time?
Right.
And the more financially secure you are, I'm not saying you got to be rich. The more financially secure you are, and you're not in a position where you're desperate for that next dollar, that's where you want to be. I mean, you look at somebody that's addicted to hard drugs, they got to get that next fix. Well, if you got $2 to your name, chances are you're scrambling for that next $2 because you don't have enough to satisfy your basic human needs. Yeah, I got enough. I got enough in the kitty that if there's the rates that I'm seeing currently on load boards for the public are, I mean, there's all kinds of words you could use: unsustainable, laughable, atrocious,
cyclical.
Yeah, yeah, and they will be cyclical.
We're down there again.
Man, at the end of the day, things will change. Whether they're good now or they're bad now, they will change, and things will get better, things will get worse. You need to make enough when times are good to not be...
You started 2010 with your own authority, didn't you? But
20 must have been 2013 with my own authority. I was leased for 3 years prior.
Okay. Yeah, so you've seen 7 or 8 more years of it than I have of the up and down cycles. Did you start in a down cycle?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started in 2010, and I was working for a place in 2008 that sold pretty much every product they carried was for building single-family homes. When you boil it down, every product they sold went to high-end single-family homes, and in 2008, that wasn't really the market to be in because that's not what people were building. And being in building materials, growing up, you do see that to some extent, no matter where you are in that column. And you need to put yourself in a position where you're not in a situation that you're desperate.
Yep.
You want to always be in a position, I can't say always in a position of power, but you want to always be in a position where you can say, fuck this, I'm out, and just walk away from about any deal. Because that means you're only going to take deals that work out at least well for you, ideally well for everybody.
Yep.
But you're not going to take a deal based on desperation, based on, oh, my new truck payment, my new equipment, my mortgage, my fill in the blank. You're not going to take a poor deal. And at the end of the day, I mean, there's so many people just have this idea that, well, I'm a really good driver, I should buy a truck. That's fucking stupid. Unequivocally, that's fucking stupid. The one has nothing to do with the other. A below average truck driver who is effective with numbers and negotiations is going to do better than a guy that can blindfolded back up in figure eights but doesn't know shit about operating a business.
Right.
Because they go together. But everybody that's out here, I did this for that. And when you start doing breakdowns, I'm not here to dig in somebody else's, expense account, but a lot of people really don't understand what the numbers actually are. People talk about like, oh, my cost to operate and this, that, and the third, and then dude, half the time they leave shit out that's like, if you miss that,
where's the rest of the story?
Yeah, if you miss that, what else did you not put in there that you have going on? Exactly.
There.
So you've touched on something here that's pretty important. A lot of people run a business essentially like you're describing. They try to limit costs as much as possible. Now, if you limit costs as much as possible, you're not going to see more revenue because you're only limiting costs. You have the same revenue, you're just limiting what it costs you to get there. You're not increasing that top part, and that's where you make more money. I was complaining at one point recently about a new tax that they're putting in this wonderful state
State of
I live
ours.
in. Yeah.
Yours?
So starting January 1st, 2023, the state of Connecticut is instituting was essentially a HUT tax, highway use tax, for basically all commercial vehicles bigger than a dually pickup, essentially. And it's a sliding scale, 5-axle vehicle registered at 80,000 pounds. It's going to be 10 cents a mile for every mile in this state.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And if you're heavier, it's like 17 cents a mile every mile.
How are they gauging? We're not going to hubometers to track the mileage.
I would imagine it's going to be, the way it was described is it's based on the New York State HUT, which, as a side note, is like a fucking half a cent per mile if you're 80,000 pounds, which is also one of the most corrupt and underreported taxes in the country, because how are you going to prove it? Because somebody that's willing to lie about it's going to lie about it. It does hurt carriers based in that state. If you are based in New York, you have to basically give them a deposit against that HUT account, because you're going to be running there. Same as I will be based in Connecticut.
Yep.
It's going to cost me $10 to get to the Massachusetts line and $10 to come back every time per truck. So that's just another tax. So I was complaining to somebody, you know, this is bullshit. You know, yes, I can add it to my rate, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, I'm getting jacked here, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like this feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, even though I'm not actually the one that ends up paying for it on the face of it when I write that check, because I'm charging that to somebody else.
Passing it on, yeah.
But, dude, every single truck that brings groceries here or gas or anything else also pays that, so the shit gets passed on, and I live here, so I do eat shit on it.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating, and... you know, my father was like, yeah, well, you got to make more money. Because at the end of the, if you're going to get, you know, I was saying, like, I pay this, I pay that, I pay, dude, at the end of the year, I bet you I spend better than 50 grand on minor bullshit money that you can't, like, you can't justify, but you can't pay a lawyer to fight it.
Yeah.
Any cheaper than you could just pay it, and they know that. That's why
you can't get out of the tolls. You can't get out of the tax. You said $19,000 on tolls you spent last year.
Not last year, but the last year I was on my own. Yeah.
Right.
I don't even fucking look at that.
That's a lot of money on tolls.
It is, but like, if you're going to the city, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What do you, like? Oh, I'm gonna run down through Manhattan.
Take the back roads.
I'm gonna run down through Manhattan. Like, that only works from New England. Like, how far are you willing to go north? You're gonna go north. You know, if you're coming out of PA, you're gonna go all the way north of Albany to take a toll-free route to come back down and go into Manhattan or Long Island. Yeah, you could. What you spent going out a route cost more than a toll.
Toll did it, yeah.
So, you know, and you wasted a ton of time. They know they got you, and that's a lot of the surcharges and taxes that they put on us are things like that. Same as, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many tickets I got for, oh, you're on a weight restricted road. Like,
it's a road like any other road.
Yeah, because you're put into a position where that's where you got to be to get where you need to go, and they don't even give a shit that you're delivering right there on this road. Don't matter.
Nah, here's your ticket.
Don't matter. It says no trucks. Like,
yeah, no points on your license. Don't worry about it. Just pay the fine.
It's just a little parking ticket for $150, $200.
Like you say.
Yeah, it's just money that's gone. So, and you know, you could look at income tax similarly. You're going to spend 40, 50, 60 grand on that. Maybe not in everybody's state, just throwing numbers out there. On top of the 50 grand you threw away on fucking nothing. Okay, and then you got to pay for fuel and a new truck and tires and oil changes and actual business costs that weren't made up by somebody in an office that's just tacking on a surcharge because you have to pay it. You have to pay it or you can't legally operate. They know they got you. What are you going to do? You get a $100 ticket for, you know, for driving empty down a road with a 40, you know, oh, it's a 40-foot limit. Overall length. And it's like, oh, word? But like, I got in here and I got out of here and I didn't hit nothing and I didn't go on anybody's lawn. Well, That doesn't matter. That's the rules. And they write you a $100 ticket. I can't take a day off of work and show up for court for $100. They know that. It's a scam. It's, you know, it's corruption in a plain and simple format. But they know they got you. Well, you can't change all that. You could be mad about it. I know I'm mad about it plenty often when that happens. Howsoever, you can't change that in reality. What you can do is make more money. Make more money, because if paying 30% or so of your net income sucks, well, it sucks a lot more if it takes you from 60 grand to 40.
Yep.
Right? Because you don't really have a lot left. If you make 300 and you pay 100, I can tell you it makes you fucking crazy to write that check. However, you still got 200 left. You know, you got to increase what you're bringing in, because you really can't change. You can't change all those bullshit taxes and fees. What you can change is how much you earn. Now, if you can't earn any more because you're bringing nothing else to the table other than you're the only truck available at 5 o'clock on a Friday, like, there are going to be times you can really make a killing, and there's going to be times when you really can't. You got to find the happy medium that works for you. There's a million ways to make money trucking, right? I don't know all of them. I could tell you the way that worked for me. I can't tell you that a lot of other ways don't work.
Or that it would work for me, or that what I do would work for you. It's always been different strokes, especially different areas too, you know, where I am.
Oh, for sure.
Where you are. But you're right, there is a lot more opportunity up here.
Apparently, I up until a couple years ago, up until COVID, I think I went west of Pennsylvania like once in a truck ever.
You make plenty of money without having to cross those lines. Well, you kind of found a niche with that New York City. Didn't you have a 10-wheeler at some stage specifically for, or you told
Well,
us?
not specifically for the city, but because a bunch of the stuff I was doing, it was dumb to take a trailer down there.
Right.
I mean, for quite a while, I had a guy that would didn't give a fuck about money. You know, would call me up and be like, I need something to be at this, you know, government inspector's office in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, wherever, and he needs it there by noon, and this fucking guy'd be calling me at 9:30 in the morning. So I'd jump in my pickup and I'd show up at his place, and he'd hand me something like like a courier service, and you know,
but he wrote the checks.
$1,000 later, okay, what? I don't give a shit, you know. But you're, you know, I had the smaller equipment because you're bringing a whole bunch of different stuff for various people to places that, you know, you go in the basement of the World Trade Center. They got an overall length limit, and it's like 35 feet. And, you know, a bunch of the basements are like that, height and length limits, because you corkscrew down into a basement. You can't make it with a trailer. And at the end of the day, if you're bringing, you know, 10,000 pounds of something that'll fit in 20 feet, well,
buy the truck that'll do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
What the hell do I got to gain by dragging a trailer down there just to do it? I mean, if I go down there plenty with full loads of product. And it ain't a thing anymore. I kind of geared my business away from that, like super small shipments, because those customers, not that they're harder to get, it's just like the level of service you have to provide, you really got to be like hanging out on standby.
Right.
And the math that worked out with that was, in terms of percentage of revenue that ends up being net, the numbers were skewed way higher. You keep a ton more of the money that you're generating.
Yep.
But dude, if they only got $2,000 worth of work every week, it don't matter if you kept 1,800. That ain't enough.
Yeah.
You can't run a business,
and you can't be on standby waiting for it.
No.
If it's only that one or two loads a week.
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
And, like, oh, well, you could put it with something else. Well, you can and you can't. Because if two people need you the same day, you're telling one of them no. How many times are you going to tell them no before someone else tells them yes?
Yeah.
If you want to be the guy,
You gotta be the guy.
You got to be the guy. You got to be the guy that makes it happen every single time flawlessly, and it don't matter what.
Right.
You can't pick and choose. Well, I don't want to go here. I don't
feel like doing that today. Yeah, not today.
Yeah.
No. Well,
It
just
and
John will be there tomorrow then.
That's it. And I've made mistakes in the past by straight up refusing to bid on projects that I didn't have interest in. And not to say find a niche and service it. That said, when you have a good, dependable, regular customer and they ask you to quote something that's a bit outside of your normal operating zone, just do it. Just do it. Just quote it, even if you're high, because you're showing them you are willing to do it. And I gotta say, put the price on it that you'd actually do it for, because there's a pretty good chance you're gonna end up doing it. Because they know the kind of service you offer, and they'll say yes to a hell of a lot higher rate from you than they ever would from anyone else. Because they know you're just gonna handle it, and it's gonna be problem-free, problem solved, just like that.
Right.
Do they wanna deal with 10 other people through a chain of command that, oh, well, my boss said, well, he's the agent, but he's the whatever. They would like, it's more bullshit. They don't want those. They're hiring someone to solve a problem. What's the problem? You need this product moved from here to wherever, and you bid it. I mean, and that has bit me in the ass a couple of times since I instituted that policy. But it's an experience. Don't say no to a good regular customer on something. Be willing to price it. Be willing to make something happen. Even if you end up having to have somebody else cover your regular work, you're trying to keep them satisfied and happy, because the moment you say, no, I won't even price it, somebody else has to fill that gap. They're not going to say, oh, we're just not going to sell to you because our regular guy don't want to go there. They ain't going to say that. They then have to go through all this bullshit to find somebody that will do it. And next thing you know, that guy's like, well, what else you got?
Yep.
Well, what else you got? And he's stepping on your nuts. I mean, oh, appearances don't matter. Well, that's what people that are never going to get a customer based on appearance think. I've gotten customers based purely on you drive in well-kept equipment. As I mentioned earlier, you drive in well-kept equipment, you show up having showered, shaved, and put on presentable clothes. You speak like you know the subject at hand. Okay, here you are.
Greet people politely.
Yeah. And at that point, you don't have to say those things. You've presented those things. That's who you are. I'm representing you to your customer, because in all likelihood, I'm going to see them a lot more often than you do.
Yes.
Who do you want representing you? You know, I got a customer based on what I presented, because the person that they had for X amount of years and was the go-to guy and handled everything. If you show up in raggedy equipment with, your recap came apart 10 years ago and slapped the back of your tank in, and it's been leaking since. You got holes through the frame rail of your trailer. You got baldy tires that are going flat between, an hour from here and here. And you consistently deliver product late. But you were the go-to guy because you'd say yes. It didn't matter that you sucked at it.
Yep.
Well, nicer trucks don't get you more money. Well, it got me more money.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you're gonna tell somebody that's doing it can't be done. That's you got to offer more than the next person offers.
Right.
Whether it's when you have a new to you customer call you up and say, hey, do you have a couple ratchet straps I could borrow? Because the guy that regularly hauls our stuff just showed up and he doesn't have enough securement equipment to haul the load that he's been hauling for how many years. You don't be like, nah, fuck that guy. I'm not. No, you know what? You show up and be like, yeah, tell you what. And make, you're just there and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. Here's 10 of them. Here's 10 of them. You take them. Clearly you need them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in a position, I'm in a position of power. They called me to ask a favor for somebody else that's fucking up.
Right.
How much better could I look?
Yeah.
I didn't even have to do the job. I just had to let you play yourself by hiring somebody else who then cries at me because, I mean, this is damn near 10 years ago. And this guy's trying to tell me, oh, rate cutters are coming in, trying to like side-eye me and shit. And I was like, yeah, I'll tell you what, you're doing this load today and I'm doing it tomorrow. This is what I'm charging. Why don't you tell me what you're charging? You don't have to tell me. They already told me. They already told me that I charge twice as much as you. They already told me that. You're doing today and I'm doing tomorrow because they know how much you suck.
And they're willing to pay more.
Yeah, they're willing to pay more because if they don't get their product delivered to the person purchasing it, then they haven't made a sale.
They don't have a business anymore. It's pretty simple, people.
It really is.
Any shout outs for anybody, TTR, or people in your life, or?
Oh, I got plenty of shout outs.
Yeah.
Plenty of shout outs in my real life, everyday life. I got
lady, obviously.
Absolutely. I have a wonderful partner. She's supportive, and though we don't always see eye to eye, she has truly been a blessing in my life. Our kids are, they're getting out there doing their thing, and I'm proud of them. My parents are wonderful people. I would never be in the position that I am today without their generosity and support. There's been a lot of other good people day to day that I don't have around anymore. And I'm sorry to have lost them, but I'm grateful for them having been a part of my life. There's plenty of people that I have met through the Truckers Report. While I don't always see eye to eye with some of the people that may be in charge there's several people that I truly do appreciate the friendship that I've gotten from having met them there. And a whole bunch of them that aren't on there anymore. That said, I would like to see specific people interviewed in your future format for this channel.
Let me take some notes.
I would like to see you interview Chris, Mr. Roland Cole.
Chris.
He's on point. I would like Dave Stark.
Yes, I'd like an Oxbow too.
Mr. Oxbow.
Yep.
And while you're there, you could see Mr. Tram. I enjoy his personality.
Rex in there as well. They're close. Hit them both at the golf course, I guess.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. That might turn into a hell of a thing. You might need to leave your phone camera sitting on the charger for that one. I'm thinking more in terms of like dynamic and how they operate their business rather than personality. So if I'm leaving you out, don't feel offended. I'm looking at something from a different
What am I, chopped
perspective.
liver? How many interviews do I got to do?
Dude, I could keep going. You only said you only got 20% of the battery.
Oh, yeah, go on.
But yeah, those guys will be very interesting. Being that you do some oversize, it would be interesting to interview Keith, Mr. John Deere. He ain't on air anymore, but he's got an interesting perspective.
I know how to get a hold of him, I believe.
I got his number.
His number.
Dude, if you could get Carl.
Who's Carl?
You don't know Carl, Mr. Passing Through 69.
Ah, okay.
Carl is the man.
Okay.
I'll get you his number.
All right.
See if you could put something together. Who else? I don't know. I'm just thinking about people that are like have a skill set that is outside of the norm. At the end of the day, I don't have a whole lot to offer as far as like, yeah, I've done some oversized stuff. Yeah, I operate in an area that everybody don't want to go to. That ain't really like, if you operate somewhere.
I think it's niche.
Yeah, well, yeah, but if I was like, oh, I'm going to go to where you live and within 50 miles of where you live, like, oh, it's crazy that you know all these roads. And it's like, yeah, but you should.
Right.
You should.
Yeah.
You know, you're in transportation. You should know. Like, you should know. Because it's an hour away. I can't not know it. I mean, it's great. It's right there. You know, you grow up running this. It doesn't really seem out of the norm until you go somewhere else and realize every place ain't like this.
Yeah.
Other people to interview. I don't know, purely from a business standpoint. So I said Keith because he's got some interesting prerogatives as far as the way you secure things and the way you do things. I think that's pretty interesting. Granted, it's to a very small area, just one state, but I still think it's interesting, and he has experience beyond that.
I got wore out. Oh, Russ.
Yeah, I saw you got Russ,
Yeah,
you got
well, now,
Skeeter.
Yeah.
So I'm going through the list of people you already did and people I'd like to see. But, you know, you certainly pick some interesting people that got some interesting background, you know, and different takes on trucking as a whole and different industries they're in based on what they do, where they operate, and the background they had. I mean, you know, to hear about, you know, working at a place and you come in and a guy killed the boss and himself and now you're the boss.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
That's a hell of a story, isn't it? Hell of a way to get into trucking.
Yeah, like that was like, I mean, when I was a kid, my father owned and my parents owned that chain of lumber yards. They had guys doing distribution on flatbeds to their different stores at a given point.
Yep.
And I rode in the Moorhead truck, which everybody don't know. It was an extended hood A model with an Aerodyne 1 with a V8 cat in it. New, garaged every night. Now, Mr. Moorhead and his father, who had a cab over, they both hauled for my father in time. I got to ride in that truck when I was a little kid, and I didn't know shit about shit. But when you look back and you're like, oh, really? Like, oh, yeah, the first time you ever got to ride around in a truck was like a large ride. You know, I'm certain on some level that it impacted me.
Right.
I didn't see these pieces coming together until they were together. You know, growing up, seeing other people have trucks locally, seeing, you know, my good friend's father working on them, seeing large rides come in, talking to different people that do different kinds of work. And I just found myself in a position where, hey man, like if you get a truck driving license, you can get this raise. And then you're doing that and you see like, well, you know, I taught myself how to use the crane at a place I worked. Well, then one of the operators came in drunk one day. So hey, he didn't work there no more.
Right.
So now we got
a job.
Now we got a couple pieces of equipment, and only one guy knows how to run them, and you. So hey, you know how to do it. Figure it out. Okay. So you roll with that. You take these opportunities, and don't treat them like I don't want to do that. Yeah, I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway because it didn't matter. It don't matter what you want to do, you know.
Sometimes it's what life gives you to do.
That's it. That's it. I do what I gotta do, as most people do, but you gotta just grab it by the horns and roll with it. Because you can always take a step back. You can't always take a step forward. If an opportunity comes your way, grab a hold of it. Grab a hold of it. You know, Danny the trucker. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
From back in the day?
Danny
I
Knapp.
remember talking to him. I wish I would have talked to him more. He was a pretty interesting guy and had very unique experiences. You know, he was talking about, I'm sure that particular thread has long since been removed for a variety of reasons. He was talking about, he met a guy somewhere. This is like some Texas oil field something or other. Somebody had a big contract and would fuck it up and be late every single time, always had problems. Somehow he met this guy. They like went out, bought 53-foot step decks, put ramp kits on them or had the dovetails, bought portable forklifts that were off-road, and they would go haul this shit, and it was like outrageous money that they were getting. But it was just one of those situations where like, and if, as presented, if you met somebody and were talking to them, and that was like, oh, this is the problem we're having, and you're just like, oh, that sucks. You just blew your chance.
Right.
Like, what can we do about it? And then when they say what their problem is, and you throw a that's a lot of money, but I'll do it price. I mean, that's something else I learned from a couple people that I originally knew through the forum. You know, at the end of the day, what I was going to say is, you know, give a price that you do it for. And at the end of the day, the worst they could say is no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't take you that long to bid stuff normally.
No. You know, somebody I did work for a couple years ago who's like, I don't know, it's cheap product, so they have a hard time justifying paying much for it because their delivered price isn't very high.
Right.
So, you know, they sent me the whole bid sheet for all of next year like 2 weeks ago. And like, so I put the numbers I do it on there for. And I know that they ain't really going to be calling me. And I don't give a shit.
No.
Like,
at least you responded, you know.
Yeah, I filled out the whole,
honestly.
You know, oh, don't fill out anything you don't want to do. And it's like, they got a plant like 2 miles from my yard, and the closest delivery they have is like I could see from my yard if there wasn't trees in the way.
Right.
And I don't even remember. I bid it a couple years ago for like a couple $100. But like, not that I would have actually did it, because who the hell takes $200 loads? I don't give a shit what they are. $200. But I just put it that low because it's like, how could they pick anybody else basically to drive the rate up? And they didn't call me because someone else bid it cheaper. And it's like, there ain't anybody even within like a half hour here, and you idiots are bidding it like, oh well, it's only 2 miles away.
Oh wow.
So what? There's a putting on my pants charge, as we described earlier.
Yeah.
You like, okay, like, well, what's the volume? Well, like, in reality, how many loads a day can I really do? Are you going to be the guy that tells everybody how, oh, we used to get, you know, I used to make $500 a day there? Like, oh, congratulations. Like, well, whether it cost you 100 or the whole 500, you still didn't make any money.
Yeah.
Much as those numbers earlier, when you're going to lose money on something as a cost, whether you like it or not, you got to make more money to make more money. You can't cut your costs to make more money.
No.
You got to make more.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you make $1,500 a day, at least you have that number to start with. Whether it costs you $1 or $1,500, you have the option and opportunity to make more than the guy that charges $1,000 or $500.
And be honest with it too, like, you can't just conveniently forget, oh, fuel, or a set of tires every year, or whatever it is. You can't just lie to yourself and go, well, I can do it for $1,400 because you know I'm still making, you know. Well, if you're not making on it, then you're just lying.
Yeah.
You might as well stop.
That's it. I mean, I see stuff posted currently, and as described, laughable, ridiculous, unsustainable, etc. I don't drop my bids because I give a shit what, like, I don't, oh, brokers are making lots of money. Good.
Have at it.
Have at it. You're not making more money at my expense. Like, what you bid a project that really has nothing to do with me. I don't have a problem with brokers being involved in the game. I'm not mad at them for being here. I also don't care if they make money or not, because that ain't my problem. It ain't my job for them to make money. It's my job for me to make money. Ideally, everybody makes money. The person that sold the product, the person that either hauled or brokered and then hauled the product, the person that purchased the product, installed the product, used the product, whatever. Ideally, everybody down the line gets a piece of that. If you want to take a big chunk, well, then be prepared to eat shit, because on occasion you'll get somebody that comes along and they don't care whether you make money or not, and then they will take all the money that you made for a long time because you got to keep a customer happy.
Yeah.
Same as not using brokers predominantly. I occasionally do things where I don't really make money on it.
But you keep the customer.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, occasionally you do something where, I'm not going to say you eat shit, but like, you do something that you didn't make out on. Except that, you know, a couple of years ago I had something going on, and it was like, oh, well, what do you charge? What would you charge us to do this oddball thing that you never did before? And I asked a couple other people about it and kind of ran the numbers, and it's like, yeah, like, this is about what it would be. And man to man, the guy's just like, oh, well, like, that's not, you know, it's not really where we're at on it, because, like, it's kind of an oddball thing, and it's, you know, and now it ain't my problem whether they make or lose money on it. On the same token, am I going to lose 150, 200 grand a year customer over that? Overpricing it? No. No two ways. No, I'm not going to lose it by pricing one thing high ever. I'm not going to lose them as a customer, but if I don't make the extra 1,000 in profit that given day, that ain't really, you know what I mean? Like, end of the year, that doesn't really impact my bottom line enough to not do it, to keep somebody happy. You know, and you're always going to have customers that have certain lanes you're not going to be able to service at a rate that works for the both of you. Kyle Fitzy. He would be interesting to hear from as a company guy. He would be interesting to hear from in terms of, you know, maybe more so for you than for me, but hauling oversized stuff in different areas. As has been stated, I operate in kind of a bubble. I don't go everywhere. But, you know, to see different prerogatives, but you got to keep a customer happy, and sometimes you do things that aren't necessarily awesome, but you make them work to keep somebody happy, whether it's bringing in crated legal bullshit loads, or, you know, oh, we'll take all your returns, you know, once a month. Once a month, I'll go to all the places that buy from you, and I'll pick up all the shit they're returning for whatever reason, and I'll do it at half the rate that I go up there for, because I charge you at least a round trip to go up there, and I ain't going up there just to pick up your returns.
Right.
Let's face it. Like, I'm just doing it to show you that, like, we're all on the same, oh, I charge, you know. Whatever. You know. On the flip side of that is you got customers that, like, they might have work for you occasionally, but you got to be able to qualify them. I had somebody that asked me about a pickup coming back to the town that I run a lot of product out of, from a town that he had a pickup in, that I already knew he talked to one of my other customers and knew I was going to have a truck empty a mile from there on a given day. Well, I want, you know, I want this one bundle of shit that could go in a pickup truck. I want that picked up. Like, oh, can you throw a rate on it for me? And then he got, like, ultra butthurt because I was like, yeah, like $1,200. Oh, they don't. You're
gonna be there anyway.
Yeah, like, well, he didn't say you're gonna be there anyway, but he was like, what the hell? Like, you know, it's like one bundle of whatever product. It's only worth like $1,500. Like, you know, it's whatever the hell it is, and it's only 100 and something miles. Like, so what?
And
like the comparison isn't. I'm qualifying you. I'm telling you that, like, what you purchased. Or what you expect it should cost based on when you buy a full trail load of product, how much you might pay. That's not really relevant. I still got to take the whole truck and trailer. And what's more, yes, I'm going to be empty in that town, except that I could go somewhere 50 miles away and take a load back here that pays $12, $15, whatever, $100. Right. That pays at least that much or more. So if I got to turn down that work to go do your horse shit work, for cheap money because it do you a favor, like, well, yeah, that's true. What do you do, like 10 grand a year with me? Like, you know, you're a nice guy and I will help you if I could help you. I'm not losing money to help you so that you could make more money. Like, that's not, we both got to be on the same page here. Like, if, you know, if your numbers were drastically increased, you know, if you gave me 100 grand a year worth of work, 200, 300, yeah, you make exceptions. You know, if you're, same as when you hear guys talk about, I run the spot market, and, like, basically nobody rides for free, like, I'm charging this, that, and you charge for everything. Yeah, as you should, because, or what? It's not like you doing them a favor and losing money on it is going to make them call you next week.
Yeah.
You know, that don't help you. You got to make it everywhere. I don't know. I mean, and there's a variety of other people. You remember Scooter Trash used to be on there?
Yep. He
was pretty interesting.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll take a look. I think I might actually got a number for him. I don't know. See, there's a lot of people that I would be interested to see what they got to say in general that aren't necessarily on the forum.
I'm going to need to hire out. I'm going to need to hire a couple of cameramen and double up my equipment for all these.
I suppose. I don't know. I think a lot of people that are on that forum. I think a lot of people that are on that forum are full of shit and really are self-important blowhards. That said, there are some truly intelligent people and some people that really have a lot of industry knowledge, life experience, really, really have a good grasp on what it takes to be successful at any number of different things.
Yeah.
I think that's incredibly interesting. Yeah.
And yeah, but there's a lot of
it is easy to pick out poor actors. I mean, you see the same people post over and over again. Somebody asks a question, the first 8 responses are the same, and they're the 10th one telling you how it is. And it's like, yeah, the whole room already said that. Like,
yeah.
What are you adding? You're adding nothing. If you don't have anything nice to say, you could shut up, or just shut up.
I'm probably forever the optimist, but and this is how I met Stacy. Stacy Ballard,
Yep.
dude on there, and he bought my trailer.
You're 53. Yep.
Everybody said you cannot just go out and buy a truck and trailer, and with no CD and go get your CDL, and it's going to be an absolute failure. So I waited for 3 pages of that to go on, and I said, I read what you laid out your situation pretty well. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been firm friends ever since then, and he's doing fine.
Yeah.
Doing quite well.
Yeah, I remember you put us in touch a while ago. We spoke.
Yep.
Hardworking guy that knows his shit.
Yeah, but like I say, maybe I'm forever the optimist on some of them.
Well, yeah, I don't. Is it optimism? I don't. A lot of people would say maybe say that I'm a pessimist. I feel I'm a realist. A lot of people are not successful at
Right.
almost anything they do, and they strive to keep other people from being successful,
Yes.
essentially to make themselves look more average and more whatever.
That's what I hate.
Dude, like, there's a whole lot of people everywhere in life that'll spend a whole day telling somebody doing it how it can't be done because they couldn't do it.
Right.
And it's like, tell me how you failed. Tell me how you failed. Oh, well, it wasn't. Exactly. It wasn't you, right? It was just all the things you did and everything else. Get the fuck out of here. If you can't admit your own mistakes and learn from them, then, like, what are you really bringing to the table? I have made more mistakes than most people in similar situations in life, in a lot of ways. But if you don't learn from, like, I both personally, professionally, fill in the blank, financially, I've made a lot of stupid mistakes that, looking back, it's easy to see they're mistakes.
If you don't make the mistakes, then how do you learn? How do you?
Yeah.
You'll never have the experience to. I always like listening to everybody. Like I like listening to the guy that says, "Oh yeah," as soon as they say, "I used to have my own truck," I'm all ears.
Oh really?
Yeah. What happened? So what the deal was, and a lot of the times it's they blame somebody else, and the rest of the percentages normally, wife died or got sick or medical bills or something like.
And
there is a
certainly
legitimate reason where they just changed tack to a company driver position, but yeah, a lot of the time it's still, he couldn't make any money. The fuel got so high. That one always cracks me up. Oh, did it? Okay, so that put you out of business.
Yeah,
Well,
you were running for
running
fuel
the
money
same-
before. What the fuck?
Right.
Yeah, you're working for the same rate when your costs increase. Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe I am a pessimist that if somebody starts telling me how it can't be done, I'm less likely to listen to them, especially if there's somebody that's just repeating what the other people all before them already said. And it's like, well, what are you adding to this?
Yeah.
You're just repeating the same thing. If if you failed, dude, I've failed at a bunch of stuff. I mean, business-wise, professionally. I mean,